that was all was already there.
Okay, I've been trying to figure out how to start this for a while now, because I know how it's going to sound. She was grieving, she was paranoid, she was reading into things. I've already had that conversation with myself 100 times. I'm past it, so I'm just going to tell you what happened. My mom died in February, breast cancer. Diagnosed in October, gone by February, 4 months. I'm 28. I live alone in Nashville. No siblings. My dad remarried when I was 12. We're civil, but we're not close. I have good friends, but grief is a specific kind of weight. You can't just put on other people forever. You hit a point where you can see the effort in their faces, the effort to stay present, to keep saying the right things. You love them for it, and you stop calling at midnight anyway. So, in April, I started looking for a grief support group. I want to be clear about something. This is a normal thing to do. Grief groups exist everywhere. Hospitals run them, churches, community centers, licensed therapists. This is not a story about me being naive for looking. I found the website through a Google search. It was simple, clean, dark gray background, white text. The name at the top was Continuing Circle. The tagline said, "A peer-led space for adults navigating loss." The page described a group that met twice a month, Tuesday evenings, 7 p.m., at a private residence in East Nashville. They had a note explaining why a home setting rather than a clinical one. They said grief shouldn't feel like a problem to be solved. It should feel like an experience to be held. I remember reading that and thinking, that's well written, thoughtful, the kind of language someone uses when they've actually done the reading. I filled out the contact form, my name, the nature of my loss, how recently, how I'd found the group. I got a response in 3 hours. The woman's name was Claire Ashworth. She wrote that she was sorry for my loss, that the group had space for a new member. She described herself as the facilitator, said she'd lost her husband 4 years ago, started the group about 2 years after, when she realized how isolated she'd felt. She asked me a few questions. Was I working with a therapist? Did I have any social anxiety? Was I comfortable sharing in a group, or would I prefer to just observe the first session? That last question, the option to just observe, to not be required to perform grief for strangers on the first night. I said I'd probably share a little, but I appreciated having the choice. She confirmed the next meeting in 2 weeks, said she'd send the address the day before. 2 weeks later, she did. The house was a craftsman bungalow on a residential street, well-maintained, porch with 2 chairs, some potted plants, a doormat that said welcome in lowercase letters, porch light on, 2 other cars already parked out front. I sat in my car for a couple of minutes, not because anything felt wrong, just because I was about to walk into a room of strangers and talk about my dead mother, and I needed a second. Then I got out and I rang the bell. Claire Ashworth was exactly what her email suggested. Late 40s, brown hair cut short, the kind of face that looks like it spent a lot of time listening carefully, not passive, attentive. She opened the door before I finished ringing. "You must be Maya," she said. "Come in." The inside of the house was warm, books on shelves, a few framed photos on the walls, a candle burning on the hallway table, the kind of home that feels inhabited rather than staged. She led me to the living room, a circle of chairs, maybe 8 of them, a small table along the wall, tissues, water pitcher, some cups, a few people already seated. She introduced me around. There was Donna, a woman in her 60s, lost an adult son. Marcus, maybe 40, lost a brother. Simone, close to my age, lost her father. James, mid-50s, lost her wife. and a couple named Paul and Renata who'd lost their daughter 3 years ago and came as a unit. 6 people, 7 with Claire, 8 with me. I want to be honest, the first session was good. I mean that, genuinely good. Claire ran the group with a calm, unstructured approach, no forced sharing, no clock watching, no clinical frameworks. People talked when they wanted to. They cried sometimes. Nobody tried to fix anything. Nobody found silver linings. They listened. Donna talked about how her son's birthday was last month, how she still almost texted him. Marcus talked about a baseball game he'd gone to alone that he and his brother used to go to together. Simone talked about how she kept starting to write her dad's name on Christmas card envelopes out of habit. I talked a little about the 4 months, about how fast it was, about how I kept reaching for my phone to call her with small news, the kind of news that only a mum cares about. Nobody gave me advice. Nobody told me she was in a better place. Nobody made my loss smaller by comparison. They listened. I drove home at 9:15, feeling lighter than I had in 2 months. I signed up for the next meeting immediately. The second session was 2 weeks later, mostly the same people. One new face, a man named Derek, early 40s, quiet, plain navy shirt. He'd lost his mum recently, same as me. He barely spoke during the meeting, but I noticed something about Derek. Everyone else in that room looked at whoever was talking, the way you do when you're actually listening. Derek watched the whole room, slow sweeps, like he was taking inventory. I registered it. I didn't assign meaning to it. Some people are just observers. On the drive home, I couldn't stop thinking about something. During the first session, James had mentioned that he and his wife used to go to Radnor Lake on weekends, that she'd loved herons, that he still went sometimes, and it felt like she was there. During the second session, Claire asked James if he wanted to share anything, and he mentioned Radnor Lake again, not as a continuation of what he'd said before, as if for the first time. The exact same detail, the herons, the feeling of her presence, verbatim. Not similar, the same, word for word. I thought, maybe it's just a touchstone. Grief gives people touchstones. I went home. I couldn't sleep. Session 3. This is where I started paying attention differently. The first thing, Paul and Renata were back, the couple who'd lost their daughter. Halfway through the meeting, Renata was talking about grief. She said the hardest part wasn't the big dates, not the birthday, not the anniversary. It was the small things. The smell of a shampoo brand in a drugstore, a specific kind of fruit snack her daughter had liked, the way a familiar smell could pull you under before you had time to prepare. I thought it was beautifully said, real, specific. About 20 minutes later, Marcus was talking about his brother, and he said, almost word for word, the same thing, that it wasn't the big dates, it was the small things, the smell of something in a store, the way it could pull you under. I looked up. Renata was watching Marcus. She was smiling. Not the sad, empathetic smile you give when someone says something you recognize. Something else. Something that looked almost like satisfaction. I looked back at my hands. The second thing, at the end of the session, I was near the hallway putting on my jacket, and I heard Claire talking to Derek in the kitchen. I wasn't trying to listen, but I heard Claire say to Derek, in a quiet, casual voice, "How are you feeling about the group?" And Derek said, in an equally casual voice, "She's a good one." Claire said, "She is." A half second of silence. "The mum was recent," Derek said. 4 months, Claire said. "Still open." I did not stop moving. I put my jacket on. I said goodnight to Simone. I walked to the door. Still open. People say that about wounds. Still a fresh wound. Still open. Maybe that's all they meant. Maybe.
I sat in my parking lot for a long time. She's a good one. She is. Who says that about a grief group member? I almost didn't go back for session 4. I had a text drafted to Claire saying I needed a break. But here's the thing about grief, and I want to say this slowly because I think it matters. Grief makes you doubt your own perceptions constantly. You're in an altered state. You know you're in an altered state, and every time your brain flags something as wrong, there's an immediate counter voice. You're grieving, you're not thinking straight, you're projecting. And I had found real help in that room. Donna, Simone, Marcus, they had made me feel less alone in a specific and important way. To leave based on a fragment of conversation and a woman's smile that seemed slightly off. I went to session 4. Looking back now, I should not have gone to session 4. I arrived 10 minutes early, rang the bell. No answer. I could hear voices inside, a conversation happening somewhere in the back. I tried the door. It was unlocked. "Hello?" I called out. "Claire, it's Maya. I'm a little early." "Coming," her voice from the back, cheerful, normal. I stood in the entryway. The living room was ahead of me, empty, chairs set up, water on the table, same as always. But to the left of the entryway, there was a door I'd always assumed was a study or home office. In 3 sessions, I'd never seen it open. It had always been closed. It was open now, about 4 inches. I could see a desk through the gap, the edge of a monitor, some papers, and on the papers, facing toward me through the gap, a photograph. My driver's license photo. The specific version of yourself that you hate because you blinked slightly and your hair was wrong. The photo I'd submitted when I got my Tennessee license 2 years ago. I know my own driver's license photo. It was on a printed sheet, on a desk, in a locked room, in Claire Ashworth's house. Claire appeared at the end of the hallway. "Maya, you're early. That's wonderful." Warm, normal, zero hesitation. I looked at her. I looked at the door. I looked at her. "Of course," I said. I walked into the living room. I sat down in my usual chair, and I waited. I want to tell you what I did in those 20 minutes while people were filing in. I sat very still and I ran through everything. The driver's license photo, James repeating his story verbatim, Renata's smile, she's a good one, still open, Derek's slow inventory sweep. And one thing I hadn't let myself assign weight to until that moment. Every person in this group in 3 sessions had described their loss in specific and real terms, the kind of specificity you can't fake, the fruit snack smell, the baseball game, the Christmas card envelopes. But not one of them had ever mentioned anything else about their lives, not a job, not a neighborhood, not a friend, not a show they were watching or a problem at work. Only loss, only grief, only the specific, perfect vocabulary of people performing the experience of loss. The meeting started. I did not share that night. I sat in my chair and I watched. And once I was watching for it, really watching, I could see it. Moments when someone would say something and someone else would respond just a beat too quickly. Not the natural pause of someone who recognized what was said, the practiced timing of someone who knew their cue. Donna started talking about finding one of her son's old voicemails on her phone. Simone immediately touched her own heart before she finished the sentence. Before she finished the sentence. After the meeting, Claire asked if anyone wanted tea. I said yes. I went to the kitchen with Claire and Simone and Marcus, same as the last 2 times, and I did something I hadn't done before. I asked about the bathroom. I knew where the bathroom was, but I said, "Sorry, which way is the bathroom again?" Claire said, "Down the hall, second door to the left," which I knew. But what I was doing was buying myself a reason to walk down that hallway, past the study door, which was now closed. I walked to the bathroom. On my way back, I paused at the study door. I stood there for 2 seconds. Then I went back to the kitchen and I stayed for 30 minutes, long enough to look normal. I walked to my car. I got in. I did not drive away. I sat in the dark. The porch light was still on. Through the front window, I could see the warm living room light, Claire and Donna still talking inside. I pulled out my phone. I Googled Claire Ashworth, Nashville. LinkedIn profile, 47 years old. Listed profession, independent wellness facilitator. No employer, no location, 5 connections, no activity. A LinkedIn profile with 5 connections that someone created to show up in search results. I Googled the address, tax records, an LLC, filed 18 months ago, no individual name attached. I Googled Continuing Circle Nashville grief support. The website came up. I went to the About page, and there was a line I'd read before and glossed over. Near the bottom, our members are carefully selected to ensure the right fit for each participant. Carefully selected. I had filled out a contact form describing my loss, my name, how I'd found the group. I had been selected. I went back to Claire's first email, read it again, slowly. She'd asked if I was working with a therapist. She'd asked if I had social anxiety. She'd asked whether I was comfortable sharing or would I prefer to observe. When I first got those questions, they felt caring, professional, a good facilitator making sure a new member was comfortable. Reading them now, they felt like something else. She was asking how open I was, how guarded. She was asking whether I would talk freely or hold back. She was profiling me before I ever walked into the door. I drove home. I sat in my kitchen table. My mum had been gone for 3 months when I found that website. I had been going to this group for 2 months. I had talked in that circle about her diagnosis, about the 4 months, about the specific way she looked at me 2 days before she died when I came into her room and she didn't know I was coming. That unguarded expression on her face. I had said that out loud, in that room, with those people, and I did not know what they had done with it. 2 days after I stopped going, I got a text from Simone. "Hey Maya, noticed you weren't at the meeting, just wanted to check in, we missed you." I stared at it. Simone's warmth had been one of the main reasons I kept going back. She was close to my age, she'd lost her father. She had felt like a real connection. I wrote back that I'd been having a hard week, that I might take a break. She responded in 1 minute. "Completely understand. I just want you to know that what you shared about your mum was so beautiful. We all felt it. You have a real gift for articulating grief. Claire mentioned it too." I read that text 4 times. You have a real gift for articulating grief. Claire mentioned it too. This is what it looks like when it's subtle. It doesn't come at you with pressure. It comes with warmth. It reminds you of the thing you got from this place, the feeling of being seen, of being understood. And it ties that feeling to the people you're trying to back away from. 3 days later, I got a text from Claire. "Hi Maya, I understand you may need some space, and I absolutely respect that. I do want you to know the group cares about you. Grief can sometimes create a sense of wanting to withdraw. It's a very normal response. Whenever you're ready, there's a seat for you, no pressure." Grief can sometimes create a sense of wanting to withdraw. She was telling me that my instinct to leave was a symptom, that what I was feeling wasn't perception, it was grief. She was using my own vulnerability as the tool. I did not go back. I want to say that clearly. I did not return to that house, but I did research. The website for Continuing Circle was registered 14 months ago through a privacy-protected domain registrar. Registrant information hidden, no physical address listed. The property where the meetings were held, owned by an LLC incorporated 18 months ago, no business activity.
No individual name attached. The phone number Claire used to text me, a VoIP number, not a real carrier-issued cell phone, a virtual number, tied to an area code you can set up from anywhere, routed to whatever device you choose. My therapist, when I finally told her some of this, she said she had never heard of Continuing Circle. She kept a thorough list of local grief resources. It was not on any licensed therapist's referral list in Nashville.
I still don't know how it ended up in my Google search results. I've thought about that every week since. Let me tell you the last thing. 6 weeks after I stopped going, I ran into Donna at a Kroger, the woman in her 60s who'd lost her son, one of the people I'd felt the most genuine warmth towards. She was in the cereal aisle. She looked up when I walked past. She saw me. Her expression did something. Not the warm recognition of someone who knows you from a shared experience, something faster, more controlled, an assessment, a flicker of something, then a composed settling. "Maya," she said. "Donna," I said. 2 seconds of silence. "How are you doing?" she said. The words were right. The tone was right. But she was standing slightly sideways, her body already angled towards her exit. "I'm okay," I said. "Good, good. Already starting to move. Grief is a process, you know." A small smile. "You take care of yourself." She walked away down the aisle. I stood there and I thought about what I'd just seen. Because here's the thing. Donna had talked about her son over 3 sessions, the voicemail, his birthday, the specific texture of what it felt like to lose a child you raised. The woman standing in that Kroger, facing me, looked like someone running a quick calculation. She did not look like someone carrying the grief of a lost child. She looked like someone who had been surprised and was deciding how to handle it. I watched her turn the corner at the end of the aisle, and then she was gone. I don't know what they wanted. I've run every explanation I have. Maybe it was fraud, using my face and fingerprints near a fake identity. Maybe it was something else entirely. But the driver's license photo bothers me. You don't need someone's driver's license photo when you need to verify who they are, when identity matters, when the person themselves is the point. I'm not sure I want to wait. I'm not sure I want to know.
Okay, so I'm going to keep this as straightforward as I can, because I've told this story out loud exactly twice. Once to my roommate, once to a cop who seemed like he'd heard stranger things and still didn't really believe me. So, here's the 3rd time. I'm 24. I live in Austin, Texas. I work at a title company doing data entry, which is exactly as exciting as it sounds. 40 hours a week, $19 an hour, health insurance I almost never use. I'm not struggling, I'm not thriving. I'm just in that zone that a lot of people in their mid-20s know, where every extra dollar matters, but you're too tired to hustle for it most of the time. Which is why, when I got the text in September, I didn't delete it. The text came on a Wednesday afternoon. I was at my desk eating a sad desk salad and watching the clock. My phone buzzed. Unknown number, Austin area code. It said, "Hi Caleb, you've been selected to participate in a paid consumer research study. 2 hours, $150 Visa gift card upon completion. This Thursday at 6 p.m., downtown Austin location. Reply yes to confirm your spot or no to opt out. Spots are limited." Okay, so I want to walk you through what I thought in that moment, because I think it matters. First thought, spam. But it used my first name, my actual first name. Not dear valued customer, not hello friend, Caleb. Second thought, how do they have my name? And the answer to that, honestly, is that my name is attached to 1,000 things. Loyalty cards, app sign-ups, old survey responses I barely remember filling out. Legitimate market research firms buy contact lists all the time. That's a real industry. I knew that. $150 for 2 hours is $75 an hour for answering questions about products. I replied, yes. The response came back in under a minute. An address downtown, a suite number, a parking garage recommendation 2 blocks away. It felt real. The formatting was clean, the language was professional. I put it in my calendar and went back to my salad. Thursday came, 6 p.m. I drove downtown. The address was a mid-rise office building on Congress Avenue, not a pop-up, not a strip mall, an actual office building with a glass lobby and a security desk and one of those big building directories bolted to the wall by the elevators. I checked the directory, Suite 1140, listed as Meridian Consumer Insights. I don't know why, but seeing it on that physical directory made me relax completely. You can't fake a building directory. That's a real company in a real office. Or at least, that's what I told myself. I took the elevator to the 11th floor. Suite 1140 was at the end of a carpeted hallway, frosted glass door, the name Meridian Consumer Insights in clean sans serif letters on the glass. I pushed it open. The waiting area was exactly what you'd expect. A few chairs, a low table with some magazines on it, a water cooler in the corner that made that little glug sound every couple of minutes, recessed lighting, the kind of office that exists everywhere and belongs to no one. 3 other people were already sitting in the chairs. A woman maybe 10 years older than me, dark blazer, hair back, the focused calm look of someone who does this kind of thing regularly. A younger guy, maybe my age, backwards cap, hoodie, scrolling his phone, and an older man in his 50s, reading glasses on, thumb scrolling a Kindle. I said, "Hey." The woman smiled. The guy in the hoodie nodded. The older man didn't look up. Normal, totally normal. A door opened from the back of the waiting area, and a woman came out. Caleb? She was maybe 40. Professional clothes, lanyard with a badge I couldn't read from across the room, warm smile. "I'm Diane," she said. "Thanks so much for coming in. We're just waiting for one more and then we'll get started." She brought out a clipboard, had me sign a standard-looking NDA and a consent form, told me the session would be recorded for internal research purposes only, offered me water. The 5th participant arrived 4 minutes later. A young woman, early 20s, tote bag, earbuds around her neck. She signed the clipboard. Diane led all 5 of us through the back door. The research room was simple, a rectangular table, 5 chairs along one side facing a screen on the wall, a camera on a tripod in the corner, red light on, a one-way mirror along the far wall, the kind you always see in these setups. We sat down. Diane stood at the front. She explained the format. We'd be shown a series of product concepts, images, short descriptions, some video clips. After each one, we'd fill out a short paper response form. Then, at the end, there'd be a group discussion. The whole thing would run about 90 minutes. She handed out the response booklets, plain white, stapled. My name was already printed at the top. Okay. Which made sense. They'd confirmed my attendance. Of course, they'd pre-labeled the booklets. The lights dimmed slightly. The screen came on, and we started. The first 20 minutes were completely normal. Images of snack packaging, a redesigned sports drink label, a mock-up of a new streaming service interface, standard consumer stuff. We filled in our forms, checked boxes, circled numbers on a scale of 1 to 10. I remember thinking, this is genuinely the most boring $150 I've ever made, and I was happy about that. Then, around the 30-minute mark, something shifted. The screen changed. The next image wasn't a product. It was a photograph of a neighborhood, a residential street, tree-lined, evening light. Diane said, "This next section is about place associations. We're studying how people relate to familiar environments. Please look at the image and fill in your response." The response form had one question. Does this location feel familiar to you? Circle 1. Yes, somewhat, no. Okay, so I want to walk you through what I thought in that moment, because I think it matters. First thought, it was not recognition. Not exactly. It was more like the image had a texture that matched something in my memory. The specific angle of the light, the way the trees were spaced, the width of the street. I circled somewhat because it felt like a stock photo of a generic somewhere, the way a lot of residential streets look similar. I didn't say anything. I wrote my response and moved on. But I looked at the other participants. The woman in the blazer was writing something in the notes section of her form, quickly, like she had a lot to say. The guy in the hoodie was staring at the screen, not writing, just staring. The older man with the Kindle had his glasses off, holding them in one hand, looking at the photo in a way that was considered. Diane said nothing. She let us look for almost a full minute, which was longer than the other images. Then she moved on. The next image was a coffee shop interior. Back to normal, back to product concepts. I told myself the neighborhood photo was just part of the methodology, something about emotional response to place. Market research gets weird sometimes. I'd read that before. I wrote my responses. I drank my water. Then the next place image came up. A parking garage, multi-level, fluorescent lights, a yellow painted column in the foreground. The question on the form was the same. Does this location feel familiar to you? And this time, I knew exactly which parking garage it was.
It was the one 2 blocks from this building. The one Diane's text message had recommended for parking. The one I had parked in, tonight, 45 minutes ago. I looked at the form. I looked at the screen. My parking garage on their screen. I circled yes, because that was the true answer. But my hand was not entirely steady when I did it. I want to tell you about the guy in the hoodie. When the parking garage image came up, he didn't fill out his form. He leaned back in his chair, crossed his arms, and he looked at the one-way mirror. Not at the screen, at the mirror, for about 5 seconds. Then he leaned forward and filled out his form like nothing happened. I looked at the one-way mirror, the dark glass, whatever was on the other side. I looked back at my form. The session continued. More product images, another place image. This one was a building exterior, glass and steel, a lobby visible through the front doors. I recognized it in about 2 seconds. It was my office building, where I worked, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. The title company, my building, on their screen. I did not circle anything on the form. I sat very still. Diane was watching the group from the front of the room. Her expression was the same as it had been for 40 minutes. Neutral, professional, attentive. I looked at the woman in the blazer next to me. She was writing in the notes section again. I couldn't read her handwriting, but she was writing a lot. I looked at the older man. He was looking at the image of my office building, and he had the same expression he had for the parking garage, that considered look, like he was assessing something. I picked up my pen. I circled no, which was a lie, but I circled no. The group discussion portion started at around the 70-minute mark. Diane asked us to put down our forms. She said she had a few open-ended questions. She wanted to hear our thoughts in our own words. "Let's start with the place images," Diane said. "I'd like each of you to share your general impression. Did any of them feel more resonant than others?" The woman in the blazer spoke first. She said the neighborhood image felt very middle American, relatable, safe-coated. She talked about color palette
and compositional framing. She sounded like someone who had studied design or marketing, like someone who knew the vocabulary of this kind of analysis. The older man spoke next. He said the parking garage image was interestingly utilitarian, that industrial spaces provoked a different response than residential ones, that familiarity with a space type changed perception of a specific space. He said that last part slowly. Familiarity with a space type changed perception of a specific space. I looked at him. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at Diane. The hoodie guy said he didn't have much to add, shrugged, went back to his phone. The young woman with the tote bag said the neighborhood reminded her of where she grew up, which she said was in the Midwest. Diane smiled, made a note on her clipboard. Then she looked at me. "Caleb, anything you'd like to add?" I said, "Not really. I thought the place images were an interesting choice for a consumer study." A half-second pause. "We find that place associations often tell us more than product associations," Diane said. "People don't always realize how much environment shapes preference." She smiled. She moved on. I sat in that chair for the remaining 15 minutes of the session, thinking about what I'd circled and what I hadn't. The session ended at 7:58 p.m. Diane thanked us and handed each of us an envelope, a $150 Visa gift card, as promised. She walked us back out to the waiting area, said we could let ourselves out, said it was a pleasure. The other 4 participants gathered their things. The woman in the blazer left first, the hoodie guy right behind her, the older man last. I was putting on my jacket when I realized I'd left my pen on the table inside. My actual pen, the one I'd brought from home, not the ones Diane had provided. I pushed back through the door to the research room to grab it. Diane was standing at the table, her back to me. She had the response booklets open, all 5 of them, spread across the table. She was looking at them side by side. She turned around when she heard me. Her expression did something, a very fast, very small recalibration. "Oh," she said, "forget something?" I said, "My pen." I walked to the table. I picked up my pen, and in the 2 seconds it took me to do that, I looked at the booklets. All 5 were open to the same page, the place association section, and on my booklet, the one with my name printed at the top, someone had drawn a small mark next to my answer for the parking garage image. Not a check mark, not a correction, a small circle in red pen around my yes. "Thank you again for coming in," Diane said, still warm, still professional. "Yeah," I said, "thanks." I walked out. I drove home. I sat in my apartment. I put the $150 gift card on my kitchen counter, and I went through everything. The text with my first name, the pre-labeled booklet, the neighborhood photo, the parking garage I'd parked in that night, my office building, the red circle around my yes. I Googled Meridian Consumer Insights, Austin, Texas. A website came up, clean, professional, a stock photo of a team meeting on the homepage, contact information, and address. The address was the building I'd just left, Suite 1140. I looked for a phone number, found one, called it. Automated message: "You've reached Meridian Consumer Insights. Our office hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Please leave a message and we'll return your call within 1 business day." I hung up. I Googled the company name plus reviews. Nothing. No Glassdoor, Yelp, no Reddit mentions, no LinkedIn company page. I Googled the domain registration. Registered 11 months ago. Privacy protected. No registrant information visible. A company website registered 11 months ago. no reviews anywhere, no employee profiles, no history. Just a clean website and a suite in a real building. I want to tell you what I did next, because I'm not proud of it, and I think it might have been the thing that changed everything. I went back to the text message, the one from the unknown number that had started all of this, and I thought about the specific phrase it had used. You've been selected. Not you've been invited. Not would you like to participate. Selected, which implies a pool of candidates, which implies criteria, which implies someone looked at a list of people and chose me from it. I thought about the intake form I hadn't filled out, because there was no intake form. I had just replied yes to a text. I had not given them my name. I had not given them my address. I had not given them my work location. They had my first name in the original text. They had my office building on their screen. They had the parking garage I chose on a night when they told me to park within 2 blocks of their building, and somehow they had a photo of the specific one I'd picked, unless the text was sent after they already knew where I'd be, unless the text was sent because they'd been watching me, and they knew I drove downtown regularly, and they knew where I parked when I did. I closed my laptop. I looked at the $150 gift card. Like, in the couple months before they texted, yo, I thought about it. And I remembered. About 3 months before the text, I had filled out an online survey on a website. One of those complete a survey and enter it to win a gift card things. I'd found it through a Reddit ad. The survey was about grocery shopping habits. It had taken maybe 12 minutes. At the end, it had asked for my name and phone number to enter the prize drawing. I had entered my name, my number, my zip code. I had completely forgotten about it. My roommate looked at me. So, you gave your name and number to a random survey 3 months ago? I said, yeah. He said, and you don't know who ran the survey? I said, no. He was quiet for a second. Caleb, he said, the survey wasn't about grocery habits. I went back and tried to find the survey website, the Reddit ad that had linked to it. The Reddit account that posted the ad had been deleted. The website URL I'd bookmarked returned a 404 error. Dead link. Page doesn't exist. The survey I spent 12 minutes filling out 3 months before I got a text addressed to me by name from a company with a 2-month-old office and an 11-month-old website that had photographs of where I parked my car. That survey is gone, like it was never there. I don't know what they wanted. I've gone over it so many times. Maybe it was a data harvesting operation, building profiles of local consumers to sell. Maybe the other 4 people in that room were plants, feeding responses to shape my behavior in some direction I don't understand. Maybe it was something that starts small, a text, a session, a gift card, and works its way towards something bigger over time. Maybe I got lucky by forgetting my pen, by walking back in and seeing Diane with the booklets open and the red circle on my yes. Maybe if I hadn't seen that, I would have gotten another text, another invitation, another room. The $150 gift card is still on my kitchen counter. I haven't used it. I know that sounds irrational, but I keep thinking about something. In the group discussion portion, when Diane asked us to share our impressions of the images, she let everyone else speak first. She looked at me last. She didn't have to do it in that order. There were 5 of us. She could have started anywhere. She saved me for last. I've thought about why you save someone for last in a group setting. You do it when you want to see how they respond after everyone else has already responded. You do it when you want to see how much they reveal, how much they're paying attention, how much they know. I circled no on my office building. I don't know if they believed me. I don't know if it mattered. I don't know what happens to the people who circle yes